After I made my video titled MSTR is a different kind of beast, I had somebody ask me a question here. And he said, great insights, thank you. How would you distribute between raw Bitcoin and MSTR? Any idea about MSTY? Here's the long and short of that answer, because it's the question that I came to right after I realized what MSTR is, as best as my stupid monkey brain 79 IQ can handle. Here's the TLDR. First off, I don't know anything about MSTY. I have no clue what that even is. So I can't comment on it at all. I've heard it talked about very little here and there. Not really sure what it is. Can't comment on that at all. As far as how much to put into it, how do you distribute between this much and that much, Bitcoin, MSTR? You've got a paycheck. It comes in every 2 weeks. It's $1,000, $2,000, $10,000, whatever it is. You're able to put some of that into investments. How much do you put in? The reason I'm wearing my hat backwards is because if I do this, you can see through my head. Not great. It's green on the underside of the bill. Maybe I could color that in with a Sharpie or something. Anyhow, the answer is I don't know. I don't have a model, a map, something that I can point to and go, oh, well, this is what you should do. You should do 75, 25%, 25, 75. I have no idea. What I will say is that as far as I can tell, for most people, the answer is going to be 100% Bitcoin. I'm going to explain why later on, but first I'm going to give you the 4 people types that I think might fall outside of that. Now, what your distribution is between those two things, Bitcoin and MSTR, I don't know. I have no idea. So the first type of person that might benefit from putting anything, 1%, 100%, don't know, it's up to you. You got to figure that out on your own, into MSTR would be the kind of person that has a 401k. They have an employee match. They're able to get free money to put into a 401k. That's the kind of person, I think that's the best kind of person to put some into MSTR, because you can't, let's assume, put it into raw Bitcoin. Even if you can, I don't know how you could, but let's say you could through some, maybe River has something like that. I have seen different exchanges talking about, maybe Strike, I'm not sure. Don't quote me on it, but maybe there's some exchange, some brokerage where you're able to put money into straight up raw Bitcoin. But what you probably can't do, even if you can do that, is take it into cold storage. So if you can't put it into cold storage, do you really have the Bitcoin? That's one of the beautiful things about raw Bitcoin. If you put it in there, if you're going through, say, River daily or weekly buys, which are, I think it's there's no fee. It's fee free. That's the phrase I was looking for. Then that's a really good deal. You just go in, you do that every couple of weeks. Whenever you get a paycheck, you get those automatic buys, no fees. Great. But assuming you have an employee match, some 401k, something like that, then it would make sense to get some MSTR, because that seems like a really good idea. Now, on that note, here is American Huddle saying that very thing. I'm going to play this. Let me get rid of the chat there. I'm going to play a couple different things here.
No, it's been great. I think, 4 years ago, to keep this on MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor had just started announcing the treasury strategy. I owned MicroStrategy at that time. I bought it early. But the reason I bought it was just because I needed exposure to Bitcoin in my wife's 401k account, which had, it was a very modest 401k account. She used to work as a nurse practitioner, and then she quit to, when we had children. She's a stay-at-home mom now, whatever. So she only had a few years of earning potential in there. And I convinced her to max the account like she should, et cetera. But then it was just sitting there, and I couldn't get access to GBTC because of, the parameters that Fidelity had in place at that time. So I was like, okay, fuck it.
Okay, so right there, it sounds like the parameters that were in place were through Fidelity. That's probably who the 401k was through. They handle a lot of companies in the 401ks. And for whatever reason, couldn't get access to GBTC. He wanted to get Bitcoin. If he could have gotten straight up Bitcoin, I'm pretty sure American Hodl, of all people, would have gotten straight up Bitcoin. Couldn't do that. So he's like, okay, he says it right here. What's the next best thing?
What's the next best option? MSTR, that's Bitcoin exposure. Boom. YOLO the whole account in there. And then, that account is now a very respectable figure. It's not like the average 401k anymore. It's like the
Yeah,
average.
exactly. I imagine if his wife is comparing 401ks, if she still has it, if they haven't cashed out or whatnot, it's doing really well compared to these people like, oh, let's do the aggressive strategy. Let's do the moderate strategy. Let's do the long term. Let's do the short term. Oh, let's look at your retirement date and put it into some diversification. No, no. Diversification is for idiots that don't know what they're doing.
Average 401k on steroids and trenbolone. So like it was very good for me. And I realized I was like, oh, there's something real here about MSTR. But it wasn't until recently when I started paying attention to, the guys like Ben and Jeff.
Okay, so then he talks about why he looked into MSTR more and just doing what he does. I don't think he has a day job. Maybe he does. I'm not sure. So he's able to pay attention to this stuff. And most of the people that are in the Bitcoin space, you, me, anyone, we're paying attention to these people. We're out there. We're putting the work in. That's why we're so lucky. So that's person type 1. That is person type 1. Now, person type 2 is if you enjoy trading, if you doing the call options and all. I don't understand that. Don't really care to, because I feel like I'd be tempted to play around with stuff. And the way I see it is to some degree gambling. If you know what you're doing, maybe it's not. I really don't know enough about that world to comment on it. I know people that do that kind of thing. I haven't sat down and asked them to explain it to me because I'm not really interested. I'm interested in sort of a general curiosity sort of way, but I'm going to be honest, as I usually am, but I'm going to tell you something a little bit personal here. I'm not great with money. It's something that I've struggled with most of my life. If I have money, and my parents said this as when I was a kid, it burns a hole in my pocket. I am looking for things to buy. If I won the lottery, it would probably lead me to a very bad place. Well, I say bad place. I don't know what that means. It's not like I'm going to go out and buy hookers and drugs and whatnot. I have no interest in anything like that. But I might blow it on dumb things like fancy cars or a house that's way too big for what I need, what my wife and I need. Then again, that I have the awareness of that is good, and I would probably go to some financial advisors, and I'd probably YOLO 95% of it straight into Bitcoin. And that's why I'm so thankful. One of the biggest reasons that I am personally thankful for Bitcoin is because given how much research I've put into this thing, the hundreds, it's thousands of hours, over 1,000, so but multiple thousands, probably 2,000+ hours into it, just listening to podcasts. The thing that I've heard time and time again is that if you sell your Bitcoin, there's a really good chance you're not getting it back. And that is something that I've had pounded into my head repeatedly, to the point that I don't want to sell. I really, really don't want to. There's one thing, and I've said this many times, and I'll say it again here, that I definitely would like to sell for, and that's a home. Or you collateralize loan if there's some reputable company out there. Not, we just came on the market, FTX thing. No, I'm talking about some well-known Fidelity, BNY Mellon, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, something that's been around for a hot minute. One of these way too big to fail type banks where the world is going to backstop it no matter what to make sure that people have their money. That kind of situation, which I don't agree with. I think anything should be able to fail. But that all aside, a home seems worth it. I can't live in my Bitcoin. I can't eat my Bitcoin, but I can live in a home. And that seems really worth it to me. So back to the point here. Point one, person type number one is if you got a 401k, you've got an employee match, you can't get raw Bitcoin, so you put it into MSTR. Seems pretty good. 2, you like trading. You like playing those games, doing that kind of stuff. You have some idea of what you're doing. Okay, the enjoyment is worth it to you to some degree. All right, cool, have at it. Quant Ryan on the Quant Bros has talked about how doing that kind of stuff has allowed him to pay his bills. And I think he just mentioned on this one, the reason he was late, he was putting some offer in on a home. His dream home is what he said. Hey, that's wonderful. I mean, that's really, really cool. If he's able to do that, more power to him. If you're part of that world and you know what you're doing and you're not an idiot and you know you're not going to get burned, or you know the chance of getting burned are really low, who am I to say that you shouldn't do that? It's not for me, but more power to you. The world needs all kinds of people out there, and traders are one of them. Number 3 seems like a real minority here, but whatever. You suddenly come into some cash and you are wanting for some reason to 2x it or better. I do think that in the short term, let's say 12 to 24 months, that MSTR has a better chance of 2xing than Bitcoin. I can easily see an $800, $1,000 as of today, the 21st of November, price of MSTR. Let me try that all again. That was a real bumbled fuck way to start that sentence or even conclude the sentence. As of November 21st, 2024, MSTR is trading at just shy of $400. I do believe that in the next 24 months, stock splits aside, that there's a better chance that this price goes up to $800, $1,000 more than this price goes up to $180,000, $200,000. So if you have some need, maybe a major surgery, you've got a big family reunion that you want to foot the bill for, you're going to rent an Airbnb for 2 weeks out in, I don't know, the Blue Hills of the US. I don't know. But you have some clear need for the money, not just, I want to sit on it, I want an investment that comes back around to Bitcoin, just sit on that. Some clear, definite need to double your money or better. I'm not saying that MSTR is going to do that. This is not financial advice. I should make that real clear. But I do think, I don't know how else to make it clear here. This is not a guarantee. There's no guarantees in life except death and taxes. And even taxes are maybe on the chopping block with Trump coming in. Anyhow, if you have that definite need, the clear need to make some more money, to double it because you got to go and do this thing, pay for something, I think that MSTR might, maybe, potentially be the way to do that. Don't know. Not for sure. And then the fourth option is the option that I fall into. And this is, you just like what Saylor's doing. You're a fan of Saylor. You're thankful to what he's done for the Bitcoin community, for the number of people that he's helped Orange Pill, all of the talk that he's doing, going to Microsoft apparently to give a 3-minute presentation. If anybody can do it in 3 minutes, it's probably Saylor. It really probably is. I don't know anybody that is as articulate, as clear and level-headed as him. But I think that would be number 4. Now, how much do you put in at that rate? Well, here's me. I put in $40. I bought 0.15 something of a share. I don't even have a whole share. I just said, you know what? Sure. I'll put a little towards Saylor because, hey, thumbs up. It's my way of saying, attaboy, go get him. Do your thing, man. Hooray, huzzah. If that's you and you want to do that, then sure. But I'm talking like a 1/100% of your net worth. A minute, infinitesimally small fraction of your total holdings. It's just because you like what he's doing. So to recap, person number 1, 401k, employer match. You can't get raw Bitcoin, so you put with the 401k stuff, so you put it into there. Okay, that makes sense. Free money is free money if they do some sort of match. 2, you like the trading world. You like that stuff. It makes sense to you and you want to do it. Cool. 3, you have cash. You sold something. I don't know. You've been sitting on dry powder for a rainy day and you have an upcoming need and you're thinking, I do think that MSTR will double faster than Bitcoin. And I do see that in the next 24 months, I will have that need. I know it's coming up. I got to go get my knees replaced. I need this new hip. I'm going to pay for this big family vacation. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I've ordered these in list of importance and probability. Number 1 seems like the best. You got that 401k thing. And then number 4 is you just want to give a vote with your wallet toward what Saylor is doing. Now, at the outset of this, I talked about why you might want to have Bitcoin more than MSTR. And I want to expand on that now. I'm going to expand on that now. Saylor has used the example of what they're doing as similar to standard gas, standard petroleum, standard oil, whatever that company is. Let me pull up the the video where he goes their earnings call. Let me see here because I want to show you MSTR earnings call. There's a
Off their
slide in
balance
this
sheet
deck
and
where he shows what they're doing. Okay, it's right here. Here we go. All right. He likens
high leverage.
MSTR, this over here on the far, where is it? Right above my head, right there. This to just raw crude oil, and then they're doing all of that stuff over there. They've got MSTR options, MSTX, MSTU. They've got MSTR equity, spot Bitcoin ETFs, MSTR convert, MSTR dividend, MSTR fixed. They have all these products. This does make sense, but only so far. This makes sense for Wall Street, all of those options, all of this stuff over here, but it does not make sense for you and I. Let me explain. I think what MicroStrategy is doing is much less like what Standard Oil is doing and more like what Lego is doing. Or, I guess it's not even Lego. Lego would be the miners. And some master builder would be what MSTR is doing. The difference between Legos and crude oil is that you and I can use Legos. Now, you might not be a master builder. I certainly am not. I can think around, but I can use Legos. I cannot use crude oil. I have no use for crude oil whatsoever. I do have use for unleaded gasoline. I might be able to find a use for kerosene. I certainly could use it. I don't really have much of a use for asphalt, but I could use it. But Legos themselves, I can use. I can build things. I can make things. I can have fun with it. I can build robots. I can build starships. I can build boats. I can build farm animals. I can build the farms. I've got a big tub of Legos, and I can do stuff with those Legos. As can you, as can anybody. If you have some amount of fine motor skills and any ounce of creativity, you can do things with Legos. And this is true of basically any human on the planet. What I think that MSTR is doing is they're going to a group of people that can't. They are legally bound to not create things with Legos, or they don't want to. For some reason, they're barred from doing anything with Legos. Maybe they lack the creativity. They just, whatever reason, they just can't do it. That's Wall Street. Wall Street is this group that goes, we can't use Bitcoin. We can't use raw Lego bricks. We don't know what to do with that. We haven't put the research in. We don't have the infrastructure. We're not set up to do anything with raw Legos. We need models of things. We need models of starships and animals and buildings and boats, etc. That's what we need. And MicroStrategy saw that demand, saw this insatiable $1 trillion+ industry over there, Wall Street, finance at large, and said, okay, hang on a second. We've got a group of creative people. We've got some master builders. What if we buy Lego bricks, design different things, make molds of those things? We keep our Lego bricks. We just make molds of these things, and then we sell that to Wall Street. And Wall Street goes, hell yeah, sign us up. We can't use whatever. We're barred from interacting with the Lego bricks, but we want your models of stuff. We want the models of the cows and the ducks and the boats and the spacemen and the moons and the Eiffel Towers and the Empire State Building. We want that. We want the models of those things because we trade them and we move them around and we sell them and we swap them and we do this and we do. That's what we want. Cool. Okay. They have found a way to profit off of holding their bricks and doing things with it. And they're not getting rid of their bricks. They're just making these models and selling that off to Wall Street. And Wall Street's happy. MSTR is happy. The people that invest in MSTR are happy. Cool. Keep on doing those things. We don't really understand. I don't really understand all this stuff. Look at all these things. I don't know what any of that really is. I can't talk at length the way that Ryan Quant or Punter Jeff or Ben Workman. I can't explain to you what those things are. But I know that Wall Street likes it. I know that because I can look at this Oh, I'm already here. And go, wow, something's going on there. Up 3.7,000%. That's pretty good. That's telling me something. Now, do I think that this over here on the far, far, far side is going to do what it did over here? I don't. I really don't. Because what I think is that because the underlying asset is Bitcoin, it's this immovable rock, that MSTR is putting a mirror up to the financial world and going, look, we have this pristine thing. It is this immovable, unshakable object, and we're building on top of that. And you're looking at all this growth and going, whoa, look at all the growth and the fungus and all this stuff and the rot and whatnot. Yeah, that's cool and all. But what is it being built on? That's the important part. And as more and more people realize that that's what's holding the whole thing up, Bitcoin, at least as far as MSTR, then more and more people are going to want that thing, the underlying asset. And that's going to drive that asset up. Okay. Now with that little explanation out of the way, here's another thing to keep in mind. There is a large swath of the world that cannot get access to MSTR. If you are outside of the US, it is harder for you to get MSTR than it is for people in the US. I don't know if it's even possible for some places. I'm guessing it's not possible for a lot of places. But what doesn't care about borders? What does not give two flying rat's ass stupid fucks about your imaginary walls in the world? Bitcoin. Bitcoin could not care less about your borders. It'll go anywhere you want it to. It is traded 24/7, 365, and nothing is going to stop that. Now, you might be restricted from interacting with Bitcoin if you're in some completely locked down state like North Korea. But aside from those kind of places, you're pretty much free to do whatever you want with Bitcoin anywhere you want to. Assuming you don't even need it, but it helps, an internet connection and a couple of basic devices, you can do stuff with Bitcoin. That's pretty cool. Now, there's something that I haven't seen really anybody talking about for a little while now, and it's something that is mentioned in, let me see if I can find it. This book right here. The Sovereign Individual. Mastering the Transition to the Information Age. They could have called that the Digital Age, but something that's talked about there in that book is how as time goes on, I don't think it mentions Bitcoin, but it kind of talks about something like that. If there is global demand on a nation state level for a digital thing, a digital asset, Bitcoin in this case, and it does seem like the nation state adoption race is heating up. If that does continue to heat up, just try to fathom for a second if this SBR, this Strategic Bitcoin Reserve thing, actually comes to fruition in the US. Do you understand what that means, what the rest of the world has to do? They have to buy some. What does that do to the price? I don't know. I really don't know. But it goes up. It goes up. When you have nation states competing for this scarce asset that cannot be made more of, it drives the price up really fast, really high. Now, imagine you're a country that was a little late to the race, or you didn't want to devalue your currency too much to get that thing. And so you're going, okay, let's just take, for example, Japan. Let's say in the hierarchy of who has the most Bitcoin, Japan is, a low double digit. We'll say 15. And they go, we don't like that. We do not like being in the double digits. We as an economy want that to be in the single digits. Mid-ish would be ideal. They want to drop 10 points or climb 10 points. They want to go from being number 15 in the world of total Bitcoin holdings to 5-ish. 4 would be great. 6, somewhere in that range. They know that they can't compete with the US or China, Russia, India, So those are maybe the top, the big boys. Brazil maybe up there, somewhere in there. But they would really like to be under 10, inside the 10. How are they going to do that? How does a nation state get Bitcoin if they don't want to devalue their currency? A really good way to get Bitcoin, if you're a nation state, is to attract people to your country that have Bitcoin. Now, what is one of the biggest problems facing particularly Japan right now? Their birth rate is in the 1.1, 1.2 range. It's not good. It's really not good. Now, they have been notoriously close-bordered, but what if they said, you know what? We could fix two problems with one solution. It's going to change the look of the country. It's going to change the feel of the country in time to some degree. But we will save our country if we do this. We will save it both in the birth rate and we will save it economically. We will rise economically. We want to get back to being this economic powerhouse that we had been for a long time, and we've kind of slowly been falling out of that position, as far as I'm aware. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Or South Korea, maybe they want to do this. Maybe they want to climb the ranks as well. What you would do, maybe, possibly, don't know, what you might do to attract Bitcoiners to your country is go, we will give you citizenship. You don't even have to renounce your own citizenship, depending on how your own country works, but we will give you dual citizenship. If you can prove to us that you have X amount of Bitcoin, if you have a quarter, half, whatever is worth a crap ton of money at that point, if you have half a Bitcoin, you can prove that, we will give you dual citizenship to come and live here. Because they know that once there, you're going to start spending your Bitcoin. Why do they know that? Because they demand their taxes be paid in Bitcoin. Why would they do that? Remember back to my initial point of them wanting to climb the ranks? If they're number 15 and they want to go higher up in their Bitcoin holdings, how do they get that? Well, they have to extract it from people that have Bitcoin. How do they extract it? At gunpoint? It's not going to work real well. That's not going to be good. They incentivize it. They go, our hot baths, you pay in Bitcoin. The vending machines, you pay in Bitcoin. I could go on for an hour straight about all the things, all the stuff that a state offers you. And they go, it's all Bitcoin now. It's all Bitcoin. Because our taxes are paid in Bitcoin. You want to pay our taxes? It's in Bitcoin. Because we want to fill our coffers. We want to fill our dragon's hoard with Bitcoin. And so the way we're going to do that is we're going to make it the most roll out the red carpet for people with Bitcoin to spend their Bitcoin. You buy a home, it's going to be in Bitcoin because we're going to take a percentage of that and put it into our coffers. It's not going to be obscene because we know we don't want to scare people away because it's going to be this arms race, a peaceful arms race of the lowest, how much can we offer for the least amount of Bitcoin? Because if you go, okay, well, Japan will take a 10% tax, just throwing out numbers here, on a home sale. But South Korea, which isn't that far away, it's fairly similar climate-wise, it's similar-ish. Japan and South Korea have a lot more in common than Japan and Zimbabwe. And if you're a potential new citizen to one of these places and you go, well, South Korea, they have all this stuff, they've got this, they've got these job opportunities, and I can buy a home there. It's all pretty much about the same, except the taxes are a little bit better there. If you're changing your trajectory of Japan to maybe now South Korea, Japan's going to go, whoa, hang on, whoa, no, come over here. We'll do this for you. We'll do that for you. Well, we'll do this. It's like 2 hotels or 20 hotels going, we'll give you continental breakfast, and the other one goes over here. We'll give you continental breakfast and mimosas with our continental breakfast, and the other one goes, oh crap, we'll give you continental breakfast, mimosas, and free rentals for the beach, and we're beachside. Dang, you have all this competition to attract people to you, but what are they doing this all for? Are they doing it all for your MSTR? No, they're not. They're doing it for Bitcoin. And I don't see that changing. You can't hold MSTR the way you can Bitcoin. It is not a bearer asset. I think that MSTR is great. I like what they're doing. I'm a fan of Saylor. I'm all for it. If you're in and you're making a bunch of money, hey, thumbs up to you. But for me and those that I'm close to, if they ask me, I'm going to encourage them to be Bitcoin only. Not because I'm anti-MSTR. I hope I've made that clear. I'm extremely grateful to Saylor and all the things that he and his team is doing. I'm big fan. But I'm not here for fiat gains. Exactly. And I'm not mad at them. I'm here for systemic change. I'm here for nation states competing for my Bitcoin and doing it in the most friendly. I think I was about to use that word, right? I was going to say it here. Yeah, egalitarian way possible. Where do I want to live? I don't know. I'd like to stay in the US. I want this place. I want my home. I want the states competing for my Bitcoin. I want them to be the most friendly, welcoming, doing whatever I want. The government finally, once again, working for the people, bowing before us. Not even bowing, but yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I understand. I'm your employee. That's what I want to get back to. And the only way that can happen is if we have the money, the people. And Bitcoin is doing that for us. And if the state wants our money, I'm going to make them bend over backwards for it. Now, if they want my MSTR, all they got to do is go to an exchange and take it. It's a lot harder to do that with Bitcoin. So to round this all out, my point here is that I think for me and for most people, the correct distribution is 100% Bitcoin, 0% or a tiny percent MSTR. Unless you've got a 401k, unless you like doing the day trading stuff, unless you've got some cash and you're trying to 2x it for a very clear, specific reason. Maybe that'll work. Don't know. No promises. Not financial advice. Or number 4, you want to give Saylor and MSTR a thank you. Attaboy. That's all I got to say on that.